Welcome back. We are continuing our conversation with Charlie Collicutt, the director of the Guilford County Board of Elections. And if you've got a question about the elections process, you can text it in and get your question answered right here on live TV. Okay, so this person is saying they went to the Jamestown early voting site and it said it seemed that the scanner was full, so they put my ballot in a lockbox. How does that work?
Yeah, so the scanners that we use, they're digitally scanning your ballot that you put in, but they also operate with some mechanical rollers to pull the ballots in. And in that particular instance, we had a mechanical issue and we couldn't get the ballots to roll in and get read. So the system has a built-in emergency box. You say lock box, but it's really an emergency bin that it's sealed and locked that we can use our chain of custody procedures on. The ballots can go in there and be stored securely. And then when we get that machine online again, we can take those ballots and run them through the scanner, and then they can be audited or recounted just like all the other ballots the same way.
Okay. This person says, I experienced an issue at the polls early voting. How do I file an incident report?
Yeah, so just I want people to note that we do have forms on site for people to log incident reports should they have something occur. But if you get home and you decide you want to do it, give our office a call. We can get you to the right person that might be able to talk to you directly about it, or voicemail, or you'll probably get my email, and you can file it with me, and we can get a resolution.
All right. This person says, if I moved, what address should be reported at the early voting poll site?
Yeah, if you're still within Guilford County, if you moved before October 6th, then that's the address we want to use. Okay, so you can tell the early voting worker you moved, last month, a couple months ago, and we can update your address and you'll be fine. If you just moved and since October 6th, then we're going to use your old address.
Okay, and your address doesn't necessarily have to match what's on your driver's license for you to be able to vote.
Correct, and that's a great point. So when you're showing your photo ID, it does not have to have the same address that your registration address is in. The poll worker is going to ask you for your name and residence, and you tell them that, and then you show them your ID. If the address doesn't match, that's okay.
All right, and so people might wonder, okay, when I do go up there and they do ask me, they are going to ask me a question that I'm going to have to answer something out loud, correct?
Right, that's right. That's still the same process. You're going to say your name and where you live out loud.
Okay, and then they are going to hand you a ballot, and there should be a number or something on that ballot, correct?
Yeah, so at early voting, we have to code these things and ultimately process them according to some codes that correspond to where the voter lives and that kind of thing. Election day will have the precinct on there, so there will be things written on top of the ballot.
All right, and so to kind of like give people an idea of the process, the early votes aren't tabulated or put anywhere right now. What happens on election day when the polls close?
Right. So, right when the polls close, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read the absentee by mail ballots. So we will already have started that earlier in the day, but we will publish the results of the absentee by mail voting. And then shortly after that, we're going to have all the voting equipment from the early voting sites, and we're going to tabulate all the results from that. And then as the night starts to get longer, all the precincts from all over Guilford County they're gonna have precinct results and ballots in their cars, and they're driving them into our office. And as they get here, we're going to read their tabulation machines and update those results all night long.
Okay, and so the actual election isn't really certified for like 2 weeks. So explain what that is and what you're doing within those 2 weeks.
Right. So it's 10 days after the election. We have to it's called the canvass period, where we are auditing, we are conducting recounts if we need to. We're dealing with issues or investigating things that may have come up. We're looking at provisional ballots for people that may have had questions about registration. We're looking at the issues that might have cropped up with voters and their ID. But the big thing is we are auditing and auditing to get to this final to the final certification of the election.
Okay, we can talk a little bit more about that when we come back from the break. Remember, if you have a question, the number is 336-379-5775. We've got one more segment, so get your question in. We'll be right back.